Selecting the right map for your upcoming wipe cycle for your Rust community can be a bit of a daunting task, and not selecting the right map can be even worse. Imagine just selecting a random map seed for your Rust server for your upcoming wipe cycle, only to find out that there's no launch site, or there's no train station, or no outpost, or something like that. Just imagine that there's a major monument that you know your players are going to want to see on your server, and it's not there because you didn't look it up. So now you have players streaming into your server after a fresh brand new wipe, and you may run the risk of having to wipe the server again once it's brought to your attention that you're missing one of the monuments that they want you to have, or you may run the risk of actually losing those players altogether if by chance they happen to not say anything at all. And as we all know, the player is king. Don't make them mad or you might lose them forever. So let's all start using rustmaps.com to solve that issue for us. What's up everybody? Welcome back to Rust Admin Academy, where I'm teaching you everything that you need to know about owning and operating a successful Rust server. On this channel I do plugin reviews and tutorials, plus I want to give you all of the tips and tools that are going to make your Rust server ownership so much easier. If you're brand new to my channel, consider subscribing so that you stay up to date on everything that we're working on and to get the latest updates on the Rust development world. I'll remind you a couple of times throughout the video to hit that like button if you're enjoying what you're watching, so please remember to do so. Alright, let's get on to today's video. Rustmaps.com is probably the most extensive and the most powerful map searching and creation website that has ever existed. We used to use things like playrust.io, we used to use beancan.io, but they've completely fallen to the wayside. My point is there's been a couple of options over the years, but none of them even come close to what rustmaps.com has done. Mr. Blue and Hopple have been working on Rustmaps 2.0 for quite some time now, and I think they've really come up with a real work of art. So allow me to just show you around for a couple minutes. I'll show you all of the different features that are available, plus we can maybe talk about some of the things that are coming in the future. So right as soon as you land at the main page, you can immediately see what this is all about. So you have a ton of search criteria on the left-hand side of your screen, plus a small preview of all of the maps that meet that criteria on the right-hand side of the screen. So right now, just at the default settings, it's displaying just over 6,100 maps. That doesn't mean that this is all of the maps that are available. That's the number of maps that have been generated on rustmaps.com that are available currently. We're going to get into generating new maps in a couple of minutes. So if you want to change the criteria, obviously you might want to change the size of the map that you're going for, and you can do that simply by moving these sliders around right here. Most server owners typically want between 4,000 and 4,500 as their map size, so by putting these sliders in this location, it's only going to show you the maps that meet those size requirements. And then of course you can go down and change what percentage of each one of the biomes you want to appear on your map. So for example, if you want a really small snow biome, you can change the percentage down to 13%, and it's only going to show you the maps that only have 13% snow biome. Now this isn't unlimited. Obviously you can't change this number to whatever you want. For example, if we go too small, it'll say no maps found. So that was at 11%, and that can change over time. But as it stands right now at the time of this recording, there are no maps currently generated with less than 11% of the map. And strangely enough, there is only one available at 12%. And you can do that with each one of the individual biomes, and you'll end up with similar results. Just know that if you start shrinking everything down too much, you're going to get less and less maps that actually appear. And then we've got the monuments. We can decide how many monuments we want to have on our server, and we can scale that from 0 all the way up to 300 monuments on your map. And then of course you can select which one of those monuments you do or don't want. So if we absolutely want to have an airfield on there, we could click on this green check mark right here. And if you don't care which biome it actually appears in, you can just leave these all at the default settings. But let's say we absolutely don't want to have a junkyard on our map. We can click on the X next to junkyard, and it'll remove all of the maps that have a junkyard on it, leaving you only with a selection that doesn't have it on there. And as you can see here, using this search criteria, we've got this filtered down to 69 different maps available, giggity. And once we have a map that we think our community is going to like, obviously you can click on it and it's going to bring up an actual version of that map. And this is where we get to start playing around with our map. Now, obviously the information that is displayed on this page is what's going to have to go into your batch file or your server startup settings, however you've got yours set up. But if you scroll down a little bit on the left hand side, it's going to tell you which seed this is as well as which size it is. So that information needs to be transferred into your startup file so that your server actually boots this map. Now, there's some really cool things going on just with this page right here. Now, obviously we can go in and turn off all of the different things that we don't want to see on this display of the map. So in the top left-hand corner, just click on the X's and it's going to take everything off of the map. We can turn on the train overlay, which is going to tell you exactly where the underground train system is in relation to the top of your map. We can also turn on the grid system, which does accurately line up with the same grid system that you'll find in-game on your Rust map. And of course, you can change the colors, change the opacity, all that stuff just with the grid. Another really cool feature is we can turn on or we can view different heat maps. So if you want to see where on your map you're most likely going to run into a bear, turn on the bear heat map and it'll change everything to red, showing where you're most likely going to find bears. Same thing with boars and horses. And probably most importantly, if you click on the nodes, it's going to show you where you're most likely going to find nodes. And as you can see with this particular map, most of the nodes are going to appear in the snow biome. So this is all just helpful information that you can use for yourself, your teammates, your players that are on your server, whatever. This is a ton of information that is usable by everybody. Well, what about marking up the map? Can we draw where we want to attack next? Or can we indicate somewhere where we should stay away from? If we go to the top right hand corner, click on start drawing, this is going to allow you to actually mark up this map. You can also set this up so that only you can mark this up, but other people can view what it is that you're drawing on your map, or you can make it so that everyone that you send this link to can add their own markups. And of course, if you're just a solo player, you don't have to share this information with anybody at all. So just click on the X and it takes you to the editing page where you can now draw things or place icons or do whatever it is that you want to do. So if you want to draw, just pick a color and start drawing. We can go into the icons tab and we can actually utilize the icons that you see on the left hand side of your screen. You can just select whichever icon you want and then take it over to your map and you can place that icon, give it a name. And now as you can see there, I have a blue heart. Let's go back and change our color to purple and let's select the house icon. And then if I wanted to mark on this map where my base is, I can just drop that right there, give it a name, and there you go. Now I have a purple house on my map. So now anybody that you send this information to, whether it's the editable link or not, they will see all of this information that you've now marked up on your map. If you didn't grab your shareable link from the very beginning, you can of course click on this button right here and it'll bring up both of those links again for you. Super dope stuff. For the most part, this is what most people are going to use rustmaps.com for. However, there are so many more cool things that I have yet to show you. So stick around while we go through a couple of those. However, before we get into all of the cool stuff, have you liked this video yet? Are you subscribed to the channel? I'll give you a minute to take care of that right now. So let's go back to the main page and let's click on the dashboard. It's in the dashboard where all the magic is going to happen. So if you don't have this dashboard button on your version of rustmaps.com, it just means that you need to sign in. So you simply sign in with your Steam credentials. Super duper easy. So now there's a ton of really cool things that we can do within our dashboard. The first thing, and maybe probably one of the most important things, no, it's not one of the most important things. It's hard to differentiate what's most important here because a lot of this stuff is really useful. So we can set up organizations within our Rust Maps account. So organizations can be incredibly helpful because if you're running a team of admins or moderators on your server, maybe you want other people to have access to the same information that you have. So if we click on the organizations, as you can see here, I already have 2 organizations set up. One of them is just a test organization for Rust Admin Academy, and the other one is the one that I actually use for my live servers. But this is really important because we can invite people into our organization that will be able to take advantage of all of the benefits of whatever tier package we've purchased on this specific account. Yes, there is a premium service available for rustmaps.com. If we click on pricing, you will see all of those details. However, unfortunately, they've decided to blur everything out on the plans that aren't currently available. Everyone that goes to rustmaps.com right now for a very limited time, in fact, I only think this will go till the end of this month, May of 2023, will automatically get the premium plan for free, which normally that would be $8 US. But I wanted to be able to show you what the features are of the free plan as well as the supporter plan. However, my memory is just not good enough and I don't remember what's underneath the blur. But just know that if you go to rustmaps.com right now and set up an account, you're automatically going to get the premium features. And then if you go in and set up an organization, which is what we were just talking about, you will automatically get the org tier 2, which is probably way overpowered for what most people are going to need it for, but at least we get to play with it. So you get higher rate limits. We can generate staging branch maps, which I haven't got into yet. I will. With the premium plan, you can have 10 server URLs, which again, I haven't gotten into that yet, but I'm going to show you in just a minute here. I just want to blast through this real quick. On org tier 2, you can have up to 40 different server URLs. With the premium plan, you get 5 custom prefab slots, so you can actually store prefabs on the website so that when you're generating maps, you can just grab those stored prefabs right from there. With the org tier 2, you can store up to 40. Now, the generator priority is actually an important feature and an important difference. So if you end up creating a map that hasn't been generated yet, then rustmaps.com has to actually generate that map for you. And they've got a bunch of generators already spinning, doing work for everyone else around the world. So when you submit that map for generation, depending on your tier of subscription, is going to determine how far up that priority list you land, which basically translates to how long you're going to wait for your map to get generated. Okay, so I didn't actually mean to go into all of this pricing stuff right away, but whatever, we did it, it's out of the way. These are just some notes directly from Mr. Blue and Hopple. During the first month of release, all users will be granted premium access automatically, and all organizations will be granted org tier 2 access automatically. Oh, and here's another important note, one that I hadn't read before I started recording this. Pricing and features are still being tweaked. Pricing will be finalized and subscriptions will be enabled on the 10th of May. So a minute ago I said probably the end of the month. No, the 10th of May is when the subscriptions are going to start taking place. So when you're seeing this video, you're going to have about 5 days to play around with this with full access to everything before you decide if you're going to subscribe to the service or not. Remember, there is a free plan that a majority of users will probably be okay with using. And before we leave all of this, no, I don't have a promo code, and no, this isn't a sponsored video. They're not paying me to do this. All right, let's go back to our dashboard and play around with some of the other features. So let's go into the custom prefabs. So the custom prefab section is obviously a location where we can upload prefabs to the website so we can utilize them later in the custom map generation. If you've ever seen the combined outpost bandit camp monument, this is how you would do that. So as you can see here, for some reason I have 2 of them on there, but they are the exact same monument, but it is the combined outpost and bandit camp. If we go into the download section, you're going to see a bunch of different prefabs that are available. I'm sure this list is going to grow over time. So speaking of generating custom maps, let's go in there and have a look. So we can set up a configuration for all of our different custom maps, depending on what it is that we need to accomplish with this specific generation. So obviously I only have one for testing purposes, so let's just go in there and have a look. So this is where we get to define all of the parameters that are going to exist on the map that we're going to generate. And this is all fairly self-explanatory stuff. It might look like a lot of different options, but if you just go in and look at it, you're going to realize what it's talking about. If you don't want to generate a ring road, just click on the X right here and it won't generate a ring road. If you want to remove large power lines, click on the check mark next to that. It's super simple. This is not complicated stuff. Once you're done configuring what you want your custom map to look like, you can click on Save Config. And when you go back up to the top of the page, this is where you get to select what seed you want to use as well as which size you want to use. So I want to use a size 4500 map. I'm going to put that in right there. And I'm just going to punch in a random number right there. And then I'm going to click on generate. So it's going to generate a map using this seed at that map size using all of the parameters that I've now selected. But before I click on generate, I forgot to point out where you would actually define which custom prefab you want to use on this map generation. So if you scroll down a little bit, you're going to see all of the prefabs that you have uploaded, like I showed you a minute ago, and you can just select which one you want to use. So in this case, let's use Fancy Outpost. Now, something that's really important about using custom prefabs. The original prefab has to previously exist on the map that you're about to generate. So what do I mean by that? If you're going to use a custom outpost prefab, that map needs to have had an outpost on it to begin with. If we don't have an outpost on our map, and I'm not really sure that that's even possible, I forget if they make maps that don't have outposts on it anymore. Doesn't matter. It has to have the outpost or whatever other custom prefab it is that you want to be using. Fishing villages, large barns, doesn't matter. It has to have that existing prefab on there so that it can overlay the custom prefab on top of it. Another important thing before I click on generate is if you want to create a barren map, you can do that right here simply by clicking on that check mark in the blue bar. However, when we're heading into a wipe cycle that is going to have a mandatory change to how procedurally generated maps are generated, there's going to be a toggle just above that that allows you to generate a staging branch map instead of a regular map. And why that's important is because if you're generating something prior to a wipe date where the procedural generation actually changes, you could be previewing a map that won't generate properly after the change to procedural generation has changed. So a real life example of that is prior to the May 4th update from FacePunch, on rustmaps.com, we were able to generate staging branch maps because we knew that on May the 4th, there was going to be a change to how the map was going to be generated. So we could preview what was going to be live prior to the update, but was only going to work after the update. I hope this is making sense. It makes sense in my head and I'm trying to convey that to you. Welcome to my nightmare. So when there isn't a change coming, you won't even see that option available, which is exactly why it looks like this. The staging branch option's not even there. However, a couple of days ago, prior to the May the 4th update, it was there. And that's a manually toggled feature. So the actual developers of the website will turn on that capability when they know that there's a change coming to the map generation process. All right, let's click on generate and see what happens. So strangely enough, I'm not in a queue, so it's already immediately going to generate this map. This will take a couple minutes. I'm going to edit this section out so you guys aren't waiting for it. Actually, while we're waiting for that map to generate, which it shouldn't take very long, but let's go over the other features of the website. So if you have a specific map seed and a map size that you'd like to see generated on the website, you can do that right here. Click on map generator just above custom map generation, and we can put in whatever information we want in there. Click on generate, and it'll do the same process again, minus all of our specific parameters, and it'll just generate that map. This can be helpful if you've been on another server and you know their map seed and size. You can generate a map using that information right here. Let's go into the server pages. This is the server URL section that we were talking about when I was going through the subscriptions. With the premium tier, you can have 10 of these. With the org tier 2, you can have 40 of these. And this is what it looks like right here. So it's going to have all of the information that you currently have going on your specific server. You can share that information on your website, in your Discord. You can send it out to weekly emails, whatever it is that you're using to promote your servers. You can use this URL. So click on show map, probably right above my head right there. And it takes us to the map that I'm actually using on my Ominous 2X server. And of course, we have the same capabilities that we had before. We can turn on or off the different monuments that show up on our map. You can draw on this the same way. You've still got access to the heat maps. Plus you've got all of the map specifics down below that. The seed, the size, the percentages of the different biomes, all of that information is all directly right here. And then of course, most importantly, we've got a button at the very top there that we can click on to directly connect right to that server. So you can see how this would be useful in a promotional platform as well as a team building platform. So players on your server are able to actually use this URL and go in and draw things on the map, etc., etc. It is important to note that there is a plugin required that needs to be installed on your server that you want to have show up on this page. And there's a link to that at the top of this screen, this red bar right here. That's what that's telling you. So a couple of noteworthy features that are coming in the future. Obviously, this one I can talk about right now, which is the custom map upload, which is going to make it so that you can upload a custom map to rustmaps.com. It's going to generate you a URL that you can utilize to actually load that custom map on your server. Super helpful for those that don't have websites or Discords or anywhere else where they might be hosting their maps. Now, one thing that I don't know that I'm allowed to share, but like I said before, I'm not getting paid to do this video. So if I have the information, I can share it, right? So there's a possibility that in the near future, we're going to have a 3D rendering of the map. So instead of looking down directly onto the map, we might end up with a 3D render of our map, which almost boggles my mind a little bit to have that kind of visibility on a map. I don't know. We'll see what that actually looks like, but I have it on good authority that that's what might be coming down the pike. There's also a server search button in the top right-hand corner. Let's pop in there and have a look. Let's just have a look for... Let's have a look for eye for an eye, and let's see what he's using on his server right now. So just by searching a name of a server, we were able to pull up what map they're using on their server. And if you wanted to copy that, then of course, there's your map seed, there's your map size. You can load this on your server. You're going to have the exact same map. And of course, there's a Rust Maps Discord. You can click on this Discord icon in the top right-hand corner, and it'll take you directly to their Discord. All right, I think that pretty much sums up rustmaps.com. There's probably something that I missed. Mr. Blue and I went over all of the details, and I had a script. In fact, I'm looking at my script right now. I've gone completely off the rails as far as the script goes. So I hope to God I covered all of the information that I was supposed to cover. Okay, good. That actually didn't take very long. So this is what the custom map generation has now done for us. So obviously, we have a map, and of course it fits all of the criteria that we put in our configuration file a couple of minutes ago. Important, you can't just take this map seed and size, input that into your server, and expect this custom map to load. That's just not a realistic expectation, and I hope that nobody actually thinks that could happen. So if you scroll down on the left-hand side of the screen here, you're gonna see a button that says how to use this map. So let's click on that button right now. It's gonna bring up a box. It's gonna give you two different URLs. The first one you would use if you've never ran a custom map before, and you don't have the level URL CVAR actually in your batch file. And the second URL would be used if you already have that information on your server already, or you're using a host like IceHost where all you need is the URL itself. You don't need the CVAR that goes with it. So in that case, you would just click on this button right here and only take that information. So depending on what type of situation you have will determine which URL you're actually going to use. So you either take this information and copy it into your batch file, or you take this information and you put it into the configuration file provided by your server host. Why do I always complicate things? I know that you all understand what I'm talking about, but I'm trying to verbalize it, and I don't know. I think it's too hot in my office or something. All right, so that's rustmaps.com. Do me a favor, leave a 1 in the comment section down below if you've been using Rust Maps previously, and put a 5 in the comment section down below if you've never heard of Rust Maps before or weren't comfortable using it because you didn't know enough about it. I'd like to take this opportunity to shout out all of my supporters on Patreon, as well as all of my YouTube memberships. I've also started a VIP program just in my Rust Admin Academy Discord, so if you're interested in supporting the community that way, instead of using Patreon or YouTube memberships or whatever, it's just another option for people to support what I'm doing with Rust Admin Academy. I appreciate all of the different support and all of the comments, all of the likes. I appreciate everything that you all are doing to help this channel be so successful, because seriously, it's doing fantastic and I owe it all to you. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.